Experts say that we have until 2030 to avoid catastrophe. There will be irreversible damage.
A dire warning from climate experts.
The very livability of our planet is at stake.
Governments around the world must take rapid action to curb rising temperatures.
With only 12 years left before the effects of climate change become irreversible, it isn't enough to just go with trends like metal straws, vegan diets, and bring your own baonan campaigns. We need something more systematic. A report released by the Intergovernmental Panel for Climate Change described this time as the most urgent and far-reaching call yet for governments and institutions to reduce their greenhouse gas emissions. Individual efforts are great, but we need to make systematic changes in our waste disposal in order to truly combat climate change. We need to look into our waste management systems and find a system that would be in best harmony with our environment. You may ask, what exactly is going on in our country?
For starters, the Philippine Waste Management System is guided by Republic Act 9003, also known as the Ecological Waste Management Act of 2000. Basically, these are guidelines to manage and reduce waste in the country. However, the country's waste issue continues to worsen. It's been 18 years since the bill was passed, and none of its objectives were even achieved. What could have caused the country's poor waste management?
One word: landfills. The Clean Air Act of 1999 prohibits burn sites. Thus, our system is limited to landfills. Right now, we have 403 open and 108 unsanitary landfills. Despite the fact that these are prohibited by the RA 9003, the Act only allows sanitary landfills, which we only have 118 as of 2006. Currently, these sanitary landfills are the focus of the Philippines waste management system. According to RA 9003, the minimum requirements of a sanitary landfill include liners, a leachate collection and treatment system, a gas-controlled recovery system, groundwater monitoring well system, covers, closure procedure, and post-closure procedure. The aim of these sanitary landfills is to isolate waste from the environment until the waste is completely, biologically, physically, and/or chemically degraded.
While this may sound good in theory, in reality, sanitary landfills actually release more carbon dioxide, nitrogen dioxide, sulfur dioxide, and other greenhouse gases than incinerator-based electricity systems. Unsanitary landfills are even worse, since they also release methane, another greenhouse gas.
The reason why the Philippines is pushing for sanitary landfills is because it aims to set the bar high in terms of our waste management. It models our sanitary landfills based on Germany's, a leader in waste management systems. While this may seem admirable, it's also important to question how applicable their system is to our own country. With that, it's also important to know what some of the best countries have done in terms of waste management to see if there are any parallels between our conditions. This way, we could analyze our similarities and hopefully be as environmentally friendly as them one day. To do this, we'll be looking at some of the best countries in waste management according to their EPI.
What is EPI? The Environmental Protection Index, EPI for short, ranks the performance of countries on how well they address environmental issues that primarily focus on these two areas, namely protection of human health from environmental harm and protection of ecosystems. It's composed of 19 indicators that tell us how close the countries are to fulfilling the goals established and how it fits in the spectrum of other countries.
First, let's go to Switzerland. Switzerland is ranked as the best country in waste management according to their EPI. Switzerland practices two things in managing their waste: energy production through waste incineration and recycling. Switzerland's waste incineration is so efficient that it can produce energy through the incineration process. This energy can then be used by the community. In terms of recycling, the Swiss recycling head, Patrick Gieselhardt, stated that the Swiss are considered to be the best in recycling.
Next, let's look at Singapore. Singapore is ranked as the 4th best country in waste management based on their EPI. The government of Singapore has a National Environment Agency, or NEA, which oversees the waste management systems in the country. The country has adopted 4 strategies in managing their waste, namely minimization or prevention, recycling, waste to energy or volume reduction, and landfills.
Lastly, let's look at Japan. While Japan is in 20th place according to EPI rankings, they still deserve a special mention since one of its cities, Osaka, is internationally recognized for being a leader in waste management. The city's local government implemented strict rules in waste management and encouraged recycling among its citizens. It is worth noting that the city burns its trash in high-tech plants, which then produces heat used in generating electricity. The excess waste goes to an artificial island with a waste incinerator. The government also managed to transform an old landfill into a Dutch-themed area, complete with windmills and tulips.
Now that we've seen some of the best places in the world that have done in terms of waste management, let's go back to our own country and observe our conditions. Earlier, we mentioned that using landfills is the only viable option for waste management. With our current system, it brought about harmful effects on the environment, such as producing more greenhouse gases than countries that use incineration-based systems. Despite that, the country still utilizes landfills. The question now is, why?
Second, a big part of our waste is non-hazardous or non-toxic solid waste. In comparison, hazardous waste is composed of only 1 to 9% of the waste that we produce each year. On the other hand, non-hazardous waste is best processed through incinerators, which our country is unfortunately not allowed to have. However, according to an article by Algin D. Plaza, waste incineration facilities actually release lesser amounts of greenhouse gases, hydrocarbons, non-methane organic compounds, hazardous air pollutants, nitrogen oxides, and dioxin as compared to landfills.
Lastly, it's important to note our country's structure. We are an archipelago, but you know what other countries are archipelago? Japan. Its city Osaka was marked as the #1 city in waste management by the United Nations. As we've mentioned earlier, Osaka utilizes high-tech waste incineration facilities which burns its trash, then converts this energy to electricity.
With all of these points, it's safe to say that our current waste management system, which primarily utilizes landfills, isn't fully making the most out of our country's potential. We need an alternative waste management method. Dumping our trash in dump sites is inefficient now. Besides, the Clean Air Act was enacted 2 decades ago. The intention of keeping the air clean was present back then, but people then were limited by their time and technology. Now, we have advancements in waste technology that enables us to burn waste without harming the environment as much, to the extent that it actually harms the environment less than landfills would have.
Let's go back to the report that the IPCC made about the year 2030. According to the report, there is no documented historic precedent for how much change we need to enact. But while the report calls for systematic change, we can't deny the impact that our individual efforts have. If you think about it, one of the main reasons why waste management is even a problem is because of our increasing consumption and its corresponding waste production. We need to change that. We've been hearing the phrase reduce, reuse, recycle for so long, but how often have we actually acted on this overused mantra? The earth needs us, and maybe it's time to take that overused mantra to heart. For real this time.